Commander Aurora Vance stood at the airlock's viewport, watching the twin suns of Arrakis 9 scorch the horizon. Even at a distance of 50,000 kilometers, the planet's surface glowed like embers in a dying fire. Her heart thumped in her chest as she reviewed the mission parameters one last time. Mission briefing, excerpt 12.04, objective: investigate anomalous energy readings detected in the southern desert basin of Arrakis 9. Recover any signs of life or pre-sentient artifacts. Proceed with extreme caution. Surface temperatures may exceed 150 degrees Celsius. Aurora adjusted her helmet's thermal regulator and ran a hand over the polished insignia of the United Earth Exploration Corps. She'd led dozens of expeditions, but this was her first solo command on a world so utterly inhospitable. The hover sled's engines hummed to life behind her, dissipating heat through massive radiators. She took a deep breath, filtered, cooled air filling her lungs, and stepped onto the platform. Instantly, the airlock's outer doors slid open, and a blast of superheated wind rushed past her. She exhaled a cloud of steam as the cooling field activated around her suit, dissipating the 120 degrees Celsius gust before it could overload her thermal shielding. Then she was out in the alien desert, the ground beneath her boots the consistency of glowing. Ashdot before her stretched an endless sea of dunes, each crest rippling like liquid metal. The sand was infused with iron and rare silicates, which gave it a molten sheen under the sun's glare. Every footprint left a trail of faint flickering light, like embers drifting off a smoldering log. She keyed her comms. Command, this is Vance. Descent confirmed. Initial ambient temperature, 118 degrees Celsius. All systems nominal. A crackle of static, then the distant voice of Mission Control. Roger, Vance. Probe 1 is en route to your location. Stand by for coordinates. Aurora planted the sled's cold anchor stabilizers and activated her handheld scanner. The display flickered, then locked onto the probe's telemetry. Coordinates locked. I'll meet it at the first thermal vent, marking point E42. She kicked off across the dune, the sled gliding smoothly over the glowing surface. Each oscillation of the craft sent ripples of heat across the protective skirt, and the air shimmered in its wake. As she approached the vent, a jagged fissure yawning in the ground, she could see the swirling columns of superheated sand being ejected like geysers. Thermal vents in this desert were deadly. Sudden bursts could reach over 200 degrees Celsius, and the fine dust could clog even the best filtration arrays. She hovered at a safe distance and raised the probe's retrieval net with the sled's robotic arm. The drone vanished into the vent's heat haze. For several heartbeats, nothing happened. Then her comms crackled again. Vance, we're getting odd readings. Dr. Malik Chun's voice clipped through. The probe's energy sensors are spiking. Can you get a visual? Aurora flicked on the sled's long-range camera and zoomed in. What she saw made her blood run cold. A faint figure, half submerged in the glowing sands at the vent's edge, was flailing. A soft, high-pitched cry echoed faintly through her comms channel, an alien sound that set every hair on her neck on end. She deployed the sled's heat wave disperser, a dome of focused cooling that pushed back the searing blast just enough to clear a path. I've got a life sign, she reported, voice tight. Signal strength negligible, but definitively biological. Without hesitation, Aurora switched the sled from retrieval to rescue mode. The robotic arm extended over the vent's edge, its cooling sheath sizzling as they pierced the heat. Stand by, she murmured, hands dancing over the controls. Slowly, agonizingly, the arm scooped the creature free. A torrent of sand collapsed into the vent as the little body cleared the edge. Aurora retracted the arm at full power, sealing the dome behind it. She lifted the basket and carried it to the sled's cradle, checking the readings on its bioscanner. The display flickered. Asterisk. The infant alien's luminescent skin glowed with diminishing intensity, its fine membrane already crusted with molten sand. Its body was slender and bipedal, with elongated limbs that ended in webbed digits. Two iridescent fins folded against its spine, contracting with each breath. Aurora swallowed against the heat searing inside her helmet. "It's alive, but barely," she said softly. "Prepare the hover sled for immediate departure." As the sled lifted off, torrent-like heat waves cascaded around them. Aurora gripped the rescue basket with a firm, steadying hand, then activated the sled's emergency cooling matrix. A blast of chilled gas enveloped the infant, melting away the crust and revealing its soft, pearl-white skin. Sirens began to wail in her suit, external heat reaching critical. She punched the sled's thrusters and shot upward, angling away from the vent just as it erupted in a final, furious blast of sand and flame. Behind her, the dune collapsed, swallowing the vent's scar as though it had never been. Inside the sled, Aurora laid the baby in a temperature-controlled pod. The alien's large, galaxy-patterned eyes slowly opened, reflecting the twin suns like distant stars. It let out a weak gurgle, then reached up with one webbed hand, curling its fingers around her glove. Aurora's breath caught. "Hey there," she whispered. "You're safe now." The baby made a soft clicking sound, and the lights on its biomonitor flashed green. Its gills fluttered gently, drawing the chilled, humid air through folds beneath its jaw. Aurora studied its face, broad cheekbones, a crest of bioluminescent ridges arching over its brow, and eyes wide with fear and trust. "Come, this is Vance," she said into her mic, voice steady despite the adrenaline. "I'm en route to Base Camp Alpha with an unexpected life form. Recommend immediate quarantine protocols and medical readiness upon arrival." A long pause. Then Dr. Chun's voice, incredulous. "Aurora, are you saying you found an alien child alive?" Aurora pressed a hand to the sled's viewport, staring back at the burning dunes. "Yes," she replied, "and I'm getting her home." With that, she engaged the sled's autopilot for the return trip and initiated a live feed of the baby's vitals. As the distance between her and the fiery sands grew, Aurora allowed herself a moment to catch her breath. The mission had taken a turn none of them expected, but in the vast expanse of space, finding life was the greatest discovery of all. Above her, the drooping sun dipped behind the horizon of embers, casting the desert in deep crimsons and purples. The world of Arrakis 9 would never be the same, and neither would she. And as she plummeted through the atmosphere toward Base Camp Alpha, Aurora Vance couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far larger, something that would bind two disparate species together in a fight for survival beneath an alien sky. Aurora eased the hover sled through Base Camp Alpha's outer airlock, the alien infant cradled in her arms beneath layers of thermal shrouds. As the sled's hatch opened, a pair of medtechs in sealed biosuits rushed forward, wheeling a magnetic stretcher that automatically adjusted to cradle the rescue basket. Commander Vance called Dr. Malik Chun, his xenobiology badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. He ushered Aurora down the corridor to the biocontainment wing, where the dome's massive transparent walls glowed with soft turquoise light. Inside, rows of medical pods hummed, each tuned to a different gravity, temperature, and atmospheric composition. The medtechs transferred the basket onto a wheeled platform and slid it into the dome's airlock. A hiss of decompression, then a smooth transition to the dome's controlled environment. The doors opened, revealing the central healing lab, banks of analyzers, liquid nitrogen dewars, and a constellation of robotic arms poised over a temperature-adjustable cradle. "Let's get her out," Dr. Chen said, arms folded in anticipation. Aurora watched as the first robotic greepers, their tips coated in a sterile gel, gently peeled away the thermal shrouds. Beneath, the alien baby lay curled, skin glowing faintly with bioluminescence. Its deep-set eyes flickered open at the light, revealing opalescent irises flecked with violet. Two small gill slits on its neck flexed as it inhaled the dome's cool, humid air. The cradle's sensors came to life. A hollow projector shimmered above, displaying vital signs. Core temperature, 37.4 degrees Celsius. Heart rate, 112 BPM. Steady. Respiration, 28 RPM. Gill flutter, oxygen saturation, 98%. Remarkable adaptability, Dr. Chen murmured. He tapped at a slate console, configuring the dome's microclimate to match the creature's homeworld, average high humidity, low gravity simulation at 0.7 grams, and a gentle circulation of ionized air to stimulate its bioelectric fields. Aurora moved closer, voice soft. Can it breathe earth air, or do you need the supplement? Dr. Chen watched the gills. It's comfortable for now, but long-term, we'll need a mixed gas blend closer to its native atmosphere. Nitrogen 60%, oxygen at 20%, and trace xenon to stabilize its neural functions. A medtech slid over with an oxygen regulator and a xenon canister attachment. Dr. Chen connected flexible tubing to the cradle, initiating the new gas mixture. Slowly, the baby's gill movements eased into a rhythmic pattern, as if sighing in relief. Aurora studied the infant's facial features: high-ridged brow, slender cheeks, and a pair of thin, translucent membranes along its jawline that glowed softly with each breath. Its tiny hands flexed, revealing webbed fingers tipped with delicate, chitinous claws. She reached through the glove port, offering her index finger. The creature's hand shot out, wrapping its webbing around her fingertip. Grip surprisingly strong. A murmur rippled through the med-techs. Neonatal bonding, Dr. Chen whispered, excitement edging his tone. It's seeking comfort, exactly. Like a human infant, Aurora felt a surge of hope. If it can bond, maybe it can communicate. Dr. Chen nodded. First, we stabilize its physiology. Then we begin sensory tests. He tapped the slate to activate the dome's neural stimulator. Matrix, an array of low-intensity electromagnetic coils designed to map the baby's cerebral patterns. Soft hums filled the air as the coils powered up around the cradle. A three-dimensional synaptic map materialized in mid-air, a swirling lattice of violet and turquoise nodes. Fascinating, Dr. Chen breathed. It's highly developed even. In infancy, its cortex rivals a 6-year-old human in complexity. Aurora watched the hologram, awed. Beyond the lab's walls, the harsh world of Arrakis 9 lay waiting. But here, in this sanctum of science and compassion, two species met on equal ground. As hours turned to evening in the dome's artificial cycle, Aurora sat beside the cradle, reading psycholinguistic primers on xenolinguistics. The baby stirred, eyes tracking her movements. It clicked a soft staccato sound that resonated through the dome's acoustics. Aurora paused her reading and met its gaze. Click, she repeated gently. Click, click. The infant's hand reached out, tapping lightly on the cradle rail. The sound echoed, a tiny affirmation. Aurora's heart swelled. Dr. Chen approached, tablet in hand. Commander, preliminary scans show the infant is responding to auditory stimuli. We should begin conditioned response training pair vocal patterns with simple light and sound cues. If we can establish a basic pigeon, we'll start unlocking its language. Aurora smiled, exhaustion forgotten. Let's do it, and let's give her a name. Dr. Chen raised an eyebrow. A name? Aurora looked down at the glowing child and felt a profound connection. A human names something that means light, Leora. Dr. Chen nodded, typing the record. Designation: Leora, welcome to Base Camp Alpha, Leora. As the dome's lights dimmed to mark the end of the work cycle, Aurora stayed by Leora's side a moment longer, hand on the cradle's cool surface. In the hush of the healing dome, two worlds converged, one born of fire and desolation, the other of water and earth, bound by the fragile promise of a shared future. Aurora stood in the central lab's observation gallery, arms crossed as hollow projections of Leora's physiology rotated before her. Neon streaks traced the infant's nerve pathways. Bioelectric currents pulsed along her spine like miniature. Aurora's. Dr. Chun hovered beside her, dark-rimmed glasses reflecting the shifting lights. Her neural patterns are coherent with advanced cognitive development, Chun said, voice low. But what fascinates me most is this energy signature. He tapped the display, isolating a faint resonance woven through Leora's bioelectric field. It matches the readings we saw at the ruins. Aurora nodded. Then those structures weren't merely tombs or shelters. They were part of a living network. She traced the map of recorded ruins on a separate holoscreen. 5 glyph-covered pillars arranged in a spiral, centering on a collapsed ziggurat. That afternoon, Aurora assembled a hand-picked team, Dr. Chun, 2 geologists, and a security specialist named Aaron Tran. They packed minimal gear cryovials, grav scanners, a compact terraformer probe, and secured Leora in a gravity-stabilized carrier, her gentle bioluminescence pulsing in time with the carrier's rhythm. As the hover sled lifted, Aurora stole one last glance at Base Camp Alpha's domes shimmering on the horizon, then tilted the sled's nose toward the burning dunes. The journey to the ruins took 2 hours. As they approached, the sands grew darker, the iron-rich granules clinking like chips of burning coal in the sled's wake. The ruins rose before them, 5 monoliths, each carved from obsidian-hued stone, their surfaces inscribed with looping glyphs that glowed faintly under the sun's glare. Aurora cut the engines. The sled coasted to a stop. "Disembark," she ordered softly. The team formed a semicircle around the nearest pillar. Dr. Chun knelt, sweeping the base with a micro-drone camera. "These symbols," he murmured. "They're mathematical? Constructs a kind of star map, but layered over biological schematics." He expanded an overlay, intertwining constellations and organ structures, as if the architects mapped their physiology onto the cosmos itself. Aaron Tran stepped forward, hand on her rifle's grip. "Any signs of life down here?" she asked, eyes scanning the dunes. The wind kicked up, shifting the sand in transparent curtains that danced around the pillars. Before Aurora could answer, the ground trembled. A rumble echoed across the desert. Far off, a ridge of sand peeled back like a wave, then collapsed into a yawning chasm. The team sprang into action. Dr. Chun hauled Leora's carrier to safety. The geologists scrambled for footing. At the same instant, Leora's aura flared, violet tendrils whipping out from her spine. The air around the pillars crackled in response, and the glyphs ignited, tracing circuits of light that wove between the stones. A low hum rose, harmonizing with Leora's soft clicks. Aurora's jaw tightened. "Keep clear," she shouted, stepping between Leora and the nearest monolith. The stones pulsed in sync with the child's bioelectric field, and the ground stilled. Then, as abruptly as it began, the hum ceased. The glyphs dimmed to their prior glow. The sand wave receded. Dr. Chun exhaled. "Did you see that? She activated them just by being here." Aurora looked down at Leora, whose small hand pressed against the carrier's transparent dome. The infant's eyes met hers, wide and unafraid, as if greeting an old friend. Aurora felt a chill, a realization that Leora was not just a survivor, she was the key. They moved deeper into the spiral of pillars. At its center lay a circular dais, etched with concentric rings of glyphs. The geologists revealed an indentation in the middle, an energy receptacle shaped like a miniature ziggurat. Dr. Chun knelt again, placing a sensor vial at its heart. There's residual plasma here, old power cells, perhaps. If we can interface Leora's energy signature. He looked up. We need to power this. Carefully. Aurora glanced around, wind picking up. Do it. Dr. Chun strapped the vial to a portable emitter and calibrated it to Leora's bioelectric frequency. As he activated the device, Leora's aura flared once more, feeding into the dais. The concentric glyphs blazed, and the ground beneath them trembled anew this time. Gently, like a heartbeat, a beam of starlight refracted through the dais, shooting skyward in a silvery column that pierced the desert haze. The team gasped as the constellation patterns on the pillars aligned, forming a complete celestial tableau. A soft chorus of clicks and hums filled the air, almost like voices carrying across millennia. Erin raised her rifle, emotions twisting her face. What are we witnessing? Dr. Chen's voice was reverent. A cultural resurrection. It's as if their civilization encoded their essence here, waiting for something to awaken it. As the beam faded and the glyphs returned to their faint glow, Aurora felt the enormity of what they had unleashed. The planet's buried legacy stirred beneath their feet. Tiny, fragile Leora had called it back to life. She knelt by the carrier, sweeping a stray lock of hair from Leora's glowing forehead. You've brought your world back, Aurora whispered. Now let's learn its secrets. Above them, the twin suns dipped toward the horizon, casting the ruins in molten gold. In the growing twilight, Aurora knew their expedition had transformed into a mission of discovery, and that the echoes of a lost civilization would guide them into an uncertain tomorrow. The last vestiges of daylight spilled across the dunes as Aurora's expedition retraced their path from the central dais back toward the hover sled. The air was electric with residue from the activation ceremony, tiny sparks of gold and violet, dancing in the wake of Leora's aura. The pillars, now silently watching, glowed faintly as if content. Readings are stabilizing, Dr. Chen reported, scanning his handheld console. The dais has entered a low-power standby. Whatever energy we tapped, it's resonating through the subsurface strata. He shrugged with wonder. It's like we've awakened the heart of their world. Erin Tran kept her weapons slung, but at the ready. We need to move before the sands shift again. She scanned the horizon, where a distant plume of dust signaled the onset of a desert storm. Aurora nodded. Load Leora first. With gentle deliberation, she lifted the carrier and secured it inside the sled's cabin, placing it in the gravity cradle. The bioluminescent glow from Leora lit the interior in soft pastels. As soon as the hatch closed, Aurora kicked the sled into motion. Within minutes, the sky had grown dark with rolling sand clouds. The sun's last light fractured through the storm, turning the dunes into rivers of molten gold and ember. The sled's shields flickered under the gale, but its reactors held. Base Camp Alpha. This is Vance, Aurora radioed, voice steady over the roar. Daisy sequence complete. Returning with a live specimen and intact data cores. Estimated. Arrival in 30 minutes. A terse reply crackled through. Copy, Vance. Medical and Xenotech teams on standby. The sled burst through the edge of the storm, unveiling the safety of the camp's outer perimeter lights. Aurora breathed a quiet sigh, a momentary relief before the next challenge. Inside the biocontainment dome, the medical staff awaited. Aurora carried Leora to a new, larger habitat, an aquarium-like chamber filled with warm brine, suspended silicate platforms, and simulated geothermal vents. Here, Leora could flourish in conditions closer to her homeworld. As Dr. Chen and his team offloaded data drives from the portable emitter, Aurora watched Leora step tentatively onto one of the platforms. The infant's webbed feet adapted instantly, and she blinked up at the simulated sun lamps with bright curiosity. A small plume of vapor rose from one of the vents, and Leora laughed a clear, bell-like trill that echoed through the dome like a promise. Dr. Chun approached Aurora, wiping sand specks off his gloves. Preliminary translation suggests they called themselves the Guardians of the Flame. Their entire society revolved around harnessing and protecting the geothermal currents that animate this planet. Aurora felt the weight of those words. Guardians of the Flame. So Leora is one of them, maybe even royalty, given her abilities. Dr. Chun nodded. Her bioelectric signature is unique, more refined than adult scans we recovered from the ruins. She may be a direct descendant of their High Wardens. Aurora knelt beside the new habitat, pressing a gloved hand against the viewport. Leora, she said softly, your people left their mark here so they would be remembered. We've heard your call. Now it's our turn to protect you. Across the dome, lights shifted as technicians activated holographic projections of the Nile-like magma rivers that flow beneath Arrakis 9's crust. Data overlays traced the planet's interior heat channels, revealing fissures that threatened to destabilize the surface dunes. The camp's terraforming units hummed, ready to deploy corrective measures. Aaron Tran entered, shouldering a gear pack. Commander, we've calibrated the geostabilizers. With Dr. Chun's glyph translations, we can reinforce the vent fields, remotely maintaining the balance the Pirkar engineered centuries ago. Aurora rose, determination hardening her features. Then let's begin. Leora's people entrusted us with their legacy. We won't let them or her down. As Base Camp Alpha systems synchronized with the ancient network, the sands outside hummed with renewed life. Streams of molten grains flowed in intricate patterns across the dunes, no longer destructive, but harmonious, guided by the interwoven frequencies of Leora's song and the camp's terraforming matrix. Standing at the observation window, Aurora watched the desert transform under the light of two moons that had risen in the sky. One cast a cool silver glow. The other shimmered crimson together, illuminating the newly stabilized channels of fiery sand. Lior climbed to the top of her platform and clicked. 3 clear taps that resonated through the dome's acoustics. Aurora smiled and tapped back, forming the first bridge of communication between human and Pyrrhic AR. In that moment, beneath the alien sky of Arrakis 9, 2 civilizations began to heal, bound by fire, hope, and a tiny guardian child whose rescue would echo across the stars.